Hi, it's Mark Yankovic from JobSeeker. We are having a very exciting conversation with Claire Munn today. So
It's
how are you?
nice to see you. Very, very well, thank you.
Communication clearly runs in your bones, from whether it be your first business that you started, giving education to corporates, to executive training, to TED Talks, to Emmy award-winning movie production. So I'm super excited to have you on the call, and I can't wait to learn more about edutainment. And I think what you're doing, marrying education with stuff that comes across better, is just so vital. So let us know a little bit about what you're doing at Box Media.
Really what we're doing is we're making learning feel like entertainment. And the reason being is when we are entertained, we focus. And when we focus, we learn. So to us, it's pretty common sense. It's a premise. Now, if it was easy, this would have been done a long time ago, but it is difficult to break apart a subject and rebuild it still with the learning domain and science and psychology, and then apply fantastic talent to it and learning subject matter experts. So I don't want to say it's simple. I have the most incredible team. Everybody is just a master of what they do. But it's amazing, Mark, that when you see people have these paradigm shifts, and myself included, and there are very few feelings as exciting as a paradigm shift, right? You have that feeling, and the irony of it is when you've had a paradigm shift, you actually forget what it felt like before you didn't know that particular thing. Like before you learned to ride a bicycle, or before it was a horse or whatever it was. You might remember shaking on the bike, you might remember falling off the bike, but you actually forget that feeling of the inability to do it. And that's what's exciting to me, is creating learning where people have the choices. If they choose to focus, it's about accountability. If they choose to focus, to then know that they can have that paradigm shift, to then further their career or their life or whatever it is, that what their intention is.
So it's the classic aha moment where things become real, and then they move forward on their own. They go back a little bit on you and education and your passion for education, just from an other's perspective. What kicked it off, or do you think there was something that sparked it that has given you the length to go on this journey?
Oh, definitely. From Zimbabwe, I think we were in this multicultural world where we had several things in common, no matter who we were, and that was the stories, right? We all grew up with these stories, and music, and a resourcefulness. We had to be resourceful. It didn't matter how much money you had or how little you had. If there was a drought, you had to be resourceful. If there were sanctions, you had to figure it out. So then my father, he was a publisher, and I saw very early on the power of communication and the power of again, media. And then fast forward to when I was 12, we had 11 people in our class, and we were these very odd kids. And we had this one teacher who was just phenomenal, and her name was Professor Connie Zyman. And in retrospect, she was a physical form of multimedia. She grabbed our attention by the throats, really, and we wanted to please her. We wanted to learn. We wanted to focus, and we did. And I remember thinking, why isn't everybody else like this person? She's incredible. And we didn't really like her. It wasn't about that. We respected her, but it wasn't because she was cool. It was because she was alive. She was alive. And I came across this article of Dr. Howard Gardner, which really talked about 8 different learning intelligences. And I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. It was phenomenal. And again, I remember my father said that I announced, I don't remember this, but he said I announced that I wanted to change education. And I can imagine what an annoying child I was. And so it was from then that everything I looked at was a platform to either learn from or engage from. And I haven't, you know, to the chagrin of many others, I haven't stopped since.
That is brilliant. And I think it's funny how we all have a story of one teacher that seems to have kind of changed our entire educational journey. And it shouldn't be that there's just one teacher that we kind of refer back to. There needs to be, you know, all the teachers need to find a way to pull that spark out.
And Mark, you know, you talk about sometimes your dyslexia. I, you know, am dyslexic, and I overcame my dyslexia, and I have a little bit of synesthesia, and I have ADHD. I mean, I'm sure I have every label under the sun. The thing about it is, I see that as a privilege. You and I and many others, we see things differently. So, you know, I think about it like snowflakes. If every flake is different, but the way that they form a pattern on the ground, you and I look at it differently, right? That pattern then becomes something that we can create from. And that should be seen as an ability, not a disability. And so when you've got tools and teachers who can harness that, you know, the world's our oysters. There should be no shame. There should be a celebration, actually. And so these stigmas are slowly but surely being removed, just like mental health stigmas. And that, again, will allow us to continue to learn.
But I think that's what's so vital, is that in education, it's so, in my mind, single-tracked. And it's, you know, as we've talked in the past, it's so old school, and it doesn't offer the breadth to people from, you know, with different, you know, with different lenses. And I think that's a massive failure. And I think with how we can then link that into introducing some kind of nature-based learning as well, will make it much more real. Or for me, it all needed to be real. Otherwise, it just didn't make any sense to me. So I could never get my head around the train leaving at 3 o'clock, moving at X speed, arriving at 5 o'clock. Like, it's just nuts.
And who cares, right? Who cares about that? And, you know, Richard Dunn, I was listening to your podcast with him, and I can't wait to sit down with Richard, because there are many things he was talking about that I strongly believe in, and say the same thing in my own words. Our learning has been so siloed, and if it could be interconnected, it would not only save us time, and no one has time today, but it would actually start to make a lot more sense. So if we are, I like data, and I believe in the power of data, and I like mathematics, and I love stories and history. So how do you interconnect these? Well, you have teachers start to meet about this, and they build and brainstorm a curriculum that is interconnected. And that's what we're doing for adults. So our teams come together, and we sit down and we interconnect it. We're building out this fundamentals on data analytics right now with AICPA. And if you just listen to what that title is, you know, fundamentals or understanding data analytics, you want to just go to sleep, right? It's yet the phenomenal thing about it is you can weave so many stories into that. So we use in all of our courses sustainability as a theme, every single one of them. We're infuse it with sustainability, and with data analytics, we're actually talking about it's a fictitious scenario, but based upon real data, right? So based upon loose truth. And government policies have changed. So what happens? you have followed those trends, and now you need to realize very quickly that your supply chain is going to change. Your whole model is going to change. What do? How do you keep the current stock that you have? How do you modify that? How do you adapt that, right? And why should you adapt? And how do you make you the customer of this bicycle company that we've come up with want to still buy the new bicycle, right? So it's a collaborative effort of storytelling, teaching, economics, right? Because we have to all make money in some way. We have to live in some way, and policy, and then tied to profit for good or impact for good. And again, I think tied to own sense of worth, right? If we all know that we've actually been involved and participated in change, we then own this change. And that's why, again, I love what we do. And that's also why I appreciated what Richard was saying around that for the youth.
That's brilliant. So stories plus economics plus policy plus impact equals worth. That's pretty cool. but so, I mean, this is all about moving faster, and how do we get there faster, and how do we get other people to get there faster. And I mean, you know, obviously my personal journey on education is that it was hard work the whole way through. It was hard work, and I know that if there was a better way or a simpler way or a more engaging way, I would have got there quicker. And I mean, are you seeing broader engagement? Are you seeing the education sector? I know the corporate sector are starting to think like this, but are you seeing broader the educational sector or the government thinking this is a way that we need to engage?
If I wear a grandiose hat, yes, right? If I really then start looking at proof points, you know, we've been talking about this for a long time. Again, you and I grew up knowing what the ozone layer was, and had educational programs around that. I feel we've moved far too slowly, and I thank the people who have been tirelessly shouting about this to make us sit up and wake up. So I don't know. My answer is the following. I see science starting to actually show people and government that it is real, and that the costs that is happening for government due to natural disaster, due to climate change, has also woken people up. And so this has become an ROI track versus a we must do this because we are good people track. And then you've got a bunch of other people who are really tirelessly working on this. And what I'm hoping for, because I need to have hope, I'm hoping that these two tracks are starting to become more married or more friendly, because once that happens, we've actually got a very strong base to work from. But I will say to all of us out there, what we can do is help speed up this track dramatically. If we have spending power, we have power, enormous amounts of power. So think about where you spend your $1 or pound or whatever it is. Think, if you have the luxury to have that in your pocket and you have the luxury to have a choice, think. Because this third track that comes along, which is us as consumers and our decision making and our demands, will fast track this even further, right? And then the fourth track are our small, medium-sized businesses. Don't wait for government policy to change. For goodness sake, do it. Do what Delphos is doing. Do what you're doing, Mark. And I'm not shamelessly plugging you. I think what you've done is remarkable, right? And you just you didn't wait for anybody, for goodness sake. You just went out and did it. I've got other friends, Naturopathica, I've got other people 20 years ago doing this, and people saying you're absolutely nuts. So as a company, we are going to be zero carbon by December 31st, right? We've been tracking it, following the gas protocol. We've also signed up with the climate change one as well. But we don't wait for 2030. It's ludicrous. Do it now because you can do it now. So my answer to you is, here's the positive news. It's happening. This is no longer a conversation of us and them. It is becoming us. And I don't care where the intention is coming from for the us, and nor should we. You and I, we should just work together to make this actually come about.
No, I totally agree. And I love the whole spending power equals choice. Yeah. And I say the same thing. People go, what can I do to change? And I go, very simply, decide where you spend your money. Because that ultimately, all manufacturers care about, that £1 in your pocket. And if you choose to spend it in one place, those manufacturers will try and hunt it out, and it'll be based on your your choices that you make, which I think is absolutely right. So super congratulations, carbon zero by the 31st of December. That is awesome. We are deep into our scope 1, 2, and we published our supply chain race to zero letter for all of our suppliers, so everybody has to get on board on our side, and we're on that journey, and hopefully we will get there. It won't be by Christmas, but hopefully it'll be certainly before 2030, but we've committed to 2030.
Well, let me just climb in there. Let me climb in there quickly, because Mark, you are dealing with multiple bits of packaging, every element. We are developing courses, which again, our supply chain is, where do we, I'll just break it down really simply. Where do we get our equipment from? What paint are we using in our set designs? What materials are we using? Are we using refurbished equipment versus brand new equipment? All of it. So I know, again, I don't want to say that that's so simple, but it's much simpler than what you're doing. So again, if you are able to bring that down to zero, you take anybody in a manufacturing organization, they have no excuse, right? So we also just got our certification for Made in Britain for our courses, which proves that we are, again, the supply chain side. These are things and steps that you can do, and it feels good. Our teams, the morale, just think about the pride and the celebration that our companies have, and the ripple effect that does with their people, that they then go and talk to their families and partners and loved ones. It is a village. We are a small village, this planet, and the ripple effect is powerful, and the positivity around this is very powerful. So another thing that one of your podcasts, I believe it was Ali Richards, was talking about, which is, if we can show this in a way that it is a game, and there is a legend, these are my words, not his words, and it is a collaborative effort of a game, you can make it fun, right? And with that enjoyment, there are tremendous rewards from there, right? So again, how are we collectively doing this? So one thing about your organization, we only use your products in our offices, in our home, right? Not because I like you. It is because it makes sense to us. So you will see those products. So we could have had a choice of many different other products, but you do your homework. Lauren Allwood, who's my right hand and practically she runs the company, she goes and does all this due diligence. Everybody has access to this local supply group. We're going to make that public. We're not vouching for any of the companies, deeply. We're just saying, these are the ones we use. This is our homework. And allow people to start adding to this website of who they use. Just make it really simple. And then now you're starting to actually have a participatory group of people where there will be no tolerance of hate or slander or whatever it is. It's not a Yelp. This is a place where people can start to have easy access to make better, easier choices.
That's brilliant.
In fact, you can do that for me if you want, Mark. I'll give it to you.
Well, there's lots of people I'm sure I will be able to put onto the platform or
Good.
suggest. But I mean, there's kind of 2 or 3 things that have come out of that, which the net zero. Netflix gets a bad rap on how much power they use, and I think the statistic is half an hour of Netflix would run your fridge for 2 years. Yes, but I think from an educational perspective, creating great content is scalable and is much more valuable globally. So I don't buy that power usage. So it's kind of converting that power usage into something that's more useful. But on that point, do you see, I mean, your time in Hollywood and LA, do you see that media industry starting to take this seriously? Are they trying?
The people I know and hang out with, I mean, they're all activists. So and walk their talk. If you look under their sink, usually if you go into someone's house and you look into their kitchen sink, you know who they are. It's very funny. So just know I'll be coming and looking in your sink. But it's all real from what I see, right? And the one thing that I feel proud about being involved in is how do we make the urgency of this relatable, right? So that's what our company does. We break it down and make it relatable, because again, if it's not entertaining and we can't relate to it, what we do is shut down. Our Chief of Science, Neuroscience, Dr. Roy Sugarman, has a wonderful, we filmed him, we have these lessons at Box, and he talks about the what happens with our brains when we are overloaded with crisis information. We just come to a screeching halt. That's basically what we do. We just stop, we shut down, we turn on Netflix, and we just say, or something, and we just say, I can't deal with it. So again, how do we break this down in a way where we show it's part of our lives? It's like brushing your teeth, right? If you don't brush your teeth are going to fall out and you're not going to have friends. You're going to have, not because your teeth have fallen out, you've got bad breath, right? So we are working through scenarios. There's a series that we've got called the Watts series. It's about the Watts family. And we put them into 2035 and we show their life in a positive way of what it's going to be like in 2035, working from home and working from work. And it's all set, funny enough, it's all set in the Botanical Gardens. It's absolutely the most gorgeous set you can possibly imagine. So the backdrop is sustainability. So again, what we're bringing through is you can do this. And isn't this and COVID has again taught us the power of nature. We learn from nature, not for nature, right? So it's how are we learning from nature to manage our stress management and also manage our daily activities that are can be again around sustainable practices. So Hollywood, I think, is a very powerful platform. BAFTA, Hollywood, Bollywood, all of them. Nollywood is, I wonder if we're going to have a Zollywood. That would be cool.
Could you imagine?
I would be so happy. Anyway, so all these hoods are great platforms for change, great platforms for expression, and it's about how we harness this creativity. And what we're tackling is not the big theatre screen necessarily. We're still doing films, but not that necessarily. But we're going into organizations and governments and saying, plug in our course to ignite that curiosity around the subject. Teach the fundamentals of this course, ignite that curiosity. And we're doing value product placement. So instead of the Coca-Cola product placement, our value product placement are sustainability themes.
We have 2 minutes left, and I've got like 20 questions. I knew we were going to run out of time. so and some of these are going to be tough. And I think you might have answered. So I always ask the question: if you had a magic wand, what would you do in education? Which is a huge question. Are
apply the tool, apply the choice of having tools to ignite that curiosity. Once we are ignited, we choose to learn. With learning is openness, with openness is education, with education is less judgment, as far as I'm concerned. And once we have that in place, we can all have our own opinions, but we'll be pretty much on the same page with protecting the planet and making thoughtful choices about how we run our world and our lives is a no-brainer. I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer. And we've got to learn from different cultures, right? So the cross-pollination of us learning, for me to learn, if my nephew and niece are from Malvern, fantastic kids, they live outside, their parents are Zimbabwean, but they're English kids. For them to talk to a kid in Africa or India about their resourceful nature and what they do and how they build that little windmill and everything else is beyond priceless. So the cross-pollination using technologies is a smart thing too. And you're going to ask me about a book. Before you end, look, I want people to read this book, right? So C.S. Jung he's just one of my favorite people. And this is an excellent book on nature, technology, and his belief is we have moved so far from nature, it is making us uncomfortable. And if we go back into nature, we will become more settled within ourselves, and that then actually will also help us, I think, learn more. It's learning, learning, learning.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So yes, the one question was, what products out there, brands out there do you like? But I think that's going to be on your platform. But I'd love to be able to share your thoughts on great brands. I mean, on the book, you've answered that. So the C.S. Jung, will put that down. Podcasts, anything else?
Which platform I'm really enjoying is Swell. Go and have a look at Swell. Swell is an app. It's hosted by Deborah Pardes, brilliant creative woman. And it's a series of conversations. So you can leave a voice note and your voice note will be addressed and listened to. And it's this continued safe series of conversations. I'm really enjoying that. And then there are many. There's the Climate Cast, which is a great podcast. I think Richard Dunn's Harmony is great. There are multiple. I like NPR because they fuse it in with all. It's not the siloed effect of just sustainability. Swisher is very fun. Is very good. Sarah Silverman is hilarious. She uses a lot of expletives, but she's very funny and very on point. I think her podcast is excellent.
That's Swisher.
And Sarah Silverman.
Sarah Silverman.
Yeah, she's naughty. Just know that. No under 18s.
But tells it how it is, which is good.
Mm.
That is amazing. I've written literally pages and pages of notes. Amazing.
And no one can read your writing, Mark. So I don't know why you do that. Nope.
I know. I know you can. But I'll tell a clever person all the things that I've written down. So thank you so much for your time and your inspiration and for your amazing quotes. I love story plus economics plus policy plus impact equals worth. That's genius. Wonderful. We will speak soon and hopefully see each other in person very soon.
I'm so looking forward to it. And again, thank you for all you do. And anybody who's on this, just know that Mark's products actually work. They're not just green, they actually work. So thank you again, Mark.
Brilliant.
All right.
Thanks.
See you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.